Have you ever felt a love so deep that it seemed to come from a place even beyond words? A love that you can sense, but the person experiencing it might not even realize it yet? What if I told you there's a powerful, invisible sign that reveals how he truly feels, even before he can put it into words himself? This is the kind of love we're about to dive into. In today's video, we'll explore the profound, unconscious dynamics that shape how men experience love, particularly when they're not yet fully aware of it. Have you noticed moments of confusion, unexpected actions, or silent gestures that leave you wondering, what does this mean? Those moments aren't random, they're the unconscious speaking, revealing a love that hasn't yet come to full awareness. You'll learn how to spot this powerful sign, even if he hasn't figured it out himself. By understanding these unconscious gestures, you'll gain a deeper insight into the relationship you're in. This knowledge will not only transform your perception of his feelings, but also empower you to see beyond the surface and understand the deeper emotional currents at play. By the end of this video, you'll be able to recognize the subtle signs of love that often go unnoticed, leading to a richer, more connected understanding of your relationship. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. There are those rare, deeply profound moments in life when silence speaks volumes, so much more than words ever could. In those precious instances, you may find that the loudest truths are not the ones shouted from the rooftops, but rather the ones quietly whispered through unspoken actions, through the heart's deepest stirrings. Especially when it comes to love, there is an undeniable power in the silence, a language all its own. It's in the lingering glance that holds a secret, in the protective gesture that rises without thought. All of these small yet significant actions are the voice of the unconscious. It is in that delicate space, that liminal zone, where he acts without thinking and where words fail to capture the emotions swirling inside him, that hidden love quietly and beautifully reveals itself. Carl Jung, a pioneer in understanding the unconscious, emphasized that this vast part of our psyche is not simply a storage unit for forgotten memories or buried trauma. Instead, it is a living, breathing force, an active presence that shapes our behaviors, guides our choices, and molds the way we interact with the world and those we care about. When a man is in love but doesn't yet have full awareness of it, his actions begin to betray truths that he may not even understand yet. It's in those moments when he instinctively wants to be near you, for reasons that don't quite make sense, when he shows jealousy wrapped up in a false guise of concern, or when he becomes anxious when you pull away. These are signs, beautiful, messy, raw signs that defy logic and yet cry out for emotional recognition. They are the language of the heart, whispering truths that the mind has yet to catch up to. In relationships like this, ambiguity is often part of the dance. It's natural for him to say he's not interested in a relationship, but then become visibly uneasy when he sees you talking to someone else. It's easy for him to avoid vocalizing his feelings, but then express his care through small yet meaningful actions, remembering the tiniest details from your day, offering help in ways that feel personal, trying to solve your problems before you even ask. These contradictions aren't games, and they certainly aren't deceit. They are the unconscious mind trying to speak, to express what the conscious mind isn't yet ready to acknowledge. It's in those seemingly contradictory behaviors that love reveals its most intimate truths. The unconscious speaks, even when words fail us. And when he reaches for you in vulnerable moments, or loses his temper without understanding why, or seems caught between his head and his heart, it's those very moments that lay bare the true essence of his feelings. The unconscious mind doesn't lie. It only reveals what is buried deep within, quietly guiding his actions long before he can make sense of them. He may not realize it yet, but his unconscious is already moving toward what he craves most toward you, without him even fully acknowledging it. And this gap between feeling and recognition is part of the human experience. It's important to understand that our consciousness is just a small part of our psyche. The vast majority of what shapes us comes from the deep, uncharted waters of the unconscious. It's a process. And for those brave enough to venture into this inner world, love will eventually surface, often in the most unexpected ways. When love exists yet remains unconscious, it behaves like an unstoppable force, quietly seeking expression. And it is in this subtle, powerful movement that more is revealed than any declaration of love could ever express. If you find yourself on the other side of this, wondering if there's love present, the key is to cultivate sensitive listening, not just to words, but to the silences between them, to the actions that speak louder than words, and to the inconsistencies that hint at something deeper. The unconscious mind speaks symbolically, through gestures, through contradictions, through patterns. And those who are attuned to this language can see beyond the surface, recognizing the emotions that are just waiting to emerge. This requires presence and discernment. It's not about creating illusions or seeing only what we want to see. It's about understanding the deep internal movements that haven't yet fully surfaced in the other person's awareness, but are stirring beneath the surface, ready to reveal their truth. This is not just a matter of recognizing unconscious love. It's about being brave enough to understand the raw, unfiltered emotions that emerge in ways we don't always expect. It's about recognizing that sometimes love speaks in the quietest, most unexpected of ways, and that's where the deepest truths are often found. This process also calls for emotional maturity. It's about understanding that recognizing he loves you, even when he doesn't yet fully understand it himself, doesn't mean rushing him or forcing that recognition upon him. It's about respecting his journey, allowing him to process his feelings in his own time. When the unconscious speaks louder than words, it's a silent plea to be acknowledged, to be brought into consciousness. And love that emerges from this deep, often unrecognized place is incredibly pure, rooted in the depths of the soul. It transcends mere logic or willpower. It's not about choosing to love. It's about realizing that love was always there, waiting to be recognized and understood. By noticing that one sign, that simple gesture, you're not just interpreting a fleeting action, you're connecting to a deeper truth. A truth that he's still learning to embrace. In the male psyche, love, especially deep love, often comes with a paradox. The stronger the feeling, the greater the fear it stirs, and this fear is rarely conscious. It rises from the darkest corners of the soul, from the very depths where, according to Jung, the shadow resides. The shadow represents all the parts of ourselves that we reject, repress, or deem unacceptable. For many men, this includes vulnerability, the capacity to surrender, and the need for emotional intimacy. From a young age, society ingrains in them an ideal of strength, autonomy, and rationality traits that leave little room for the softer, more vulnerable aspects of being human. In the pursuit of this ideal, many men are taught to suppress their emotions, hide their true feelings, and even believe that expressing love is somehow a sign of weakness. Here's the important truth. Just because love is hidden doesn't mean it's gone. On the contrary, it begins to operate in the unconscious, influencing his actions, choices, and responses without him even being aware of it. When a man loves more deeply than he even realizes, it's common for his shadow to reveal itself through resistance, ambivalence, or defensive behaviors. These reactions aren't signs of disinterest or emotional unavailability. They are often expressions of fear, discomfort, and a struggle to reconcile his own emotions with the ideals he's internalized. It's in these moments that the unconscious speaks the loudest, revealing a love that's more complex, more layered, and more vulnerable than he's been able to admit. He might pull away just as the connection deepens, as if retreating from something he can't fully grasp. He may ignite conflict for no apparent reason, as though his heart is rebelling against itself, or shut down emotionally at the very moments when he feels most touched. These behaviors, though seemingly contradictory, aren't necessarily signs of disinterest or avoidance. They are much deeper than that. They are expressions of repressed emotional content, feelings that have been pushed deep within, struggling to emerge but unable to do so clearly, because there is no conscious space for them to be expressed. These internal conflicts, though painful, reflect the tension within him as his emotional self tries to find a way to break free. In this complex psychological landscape, the shadow acts like a guardian of the ego, a protective force that steps in to defend it from experiences it deems threatening. For many men, to love deeply is a profound emotional risk, a risk of losing control, of vulnerability, of exposure. The fear of being emotionally overwhelmed or rejected is often far too great, and so their defenses, built over years of conditioning, shield them from fully acknowledging or embracing the intensity of their feelings. True love, love that touches the soul at its core, forces them to confront these defenses. It exposes the parts of them that have been buried for so long, and it's in this confrontation with their emotional barriers that the shadow reveals itself. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Jung spoke extensively about this phenomenon. He said that when we deny parts of ourselves, when we refuse to acknowledge what we fear or what we repress, those parts don't simply disappear. They don't vanish into thin air. Instead, they accumulate power and begin to influence our behavior in ways that we may not even recognize. They manifest indirectly through dreams, impulsive reactions, subtle but telling contradictions in our actions. These are the expressions of the unconscious mind fighting for its place in the light. Love hidden in the shadow doesn't remain silent. It cries out in ways that can be confusing and paradoxical. It may appear as irrational jealousy, an inexplicable, overwhelming need to be close to someone, or even an intense difficulty in letting go, even though reason and logic urge him to do so. These behaviors, though they might seem irrational, are powerful expressions of fear, fear of being vulnerable, fear of the unknown, but they also reveal a deep, unspoken desire to surrender, to allow oneself to be truly seen, to open up in ways that are unfamiliar and frightening. This is the conflict that often paralyzes and confuses both him and those around him. Understanding that the shadow is at work is the first step toward transforming this fear into understanding, toward beginning the healing process. For the one who is walking alongside him in this journey, it is crucial to recognize these signs without judgment, to refrain from expecting him to have already reached an emotional awareness that he may not yet possess. Loving someone who is still grappling with his shadow requires deep empathy, but it also demands discernment. It's easy to get lost in his confusion, to be swept up in the emotional turbulence that he is struggling to understand. But the healing of this dynamic begins when he is finally able to look inward and accept the parts of himself he has long denied. These are the parts of him that crave love, that want to be loved and understood. This is where the individuation process begins, the process of integrating the shadow and transforming it from an adversary into an ally, one that ultimately expands his consciousness. The fear of love, once an insurmountable obstacle, starts to shift. What was once a barrier to intimacy becomes a gateway to something deeper, something far more meaningful. Love, in this new light, is no longer something to fear. It becomes a portal to a more mature, more integrated form of love, a love that comes not from force or will, but from the deepest corners of his being. If he acts as though he doesn't fully know what he feels, yet he cannot bring himself to walk away, this is often because he's caught between two forces, fear and love, shadow and light. And when you can perceive that dynamic within him, You stop waiting for an immediate declaration of love. Instead, you begin to see the invisible process unfolding within him, the inner struggle, the quiet emotional transformation that's happening beneath the surface. And that perception alone is transformative. It shifts your understanding of his actions, and it deepens your connection to him, even amid his confusion. In Jungian psychology, one of the most profound and revealing concepts is the anima, the archetype of the feminine, within the male psyche. This isn't about femininity as society defines it, nor is it tied to biological gender. Rather, it is the emotional, intuitive, receptive, and sensitive dimension that resides within every man. The anima is the part of him that longs for emotional connection, for vulnerability, for love in its purest form. Whether a man's aware of it or not, his connection with the anima plays a significant role in how he experiences love and intimacy. It is through the anima that a man accesses his capacity to love fully and deeply. But when this inner feminine is not yet integrated, it can be confusing. He feels an intense attraction, yet he doesn't understand why. He may feel drawn to you in ways that don't make sense, or he may retreat because the depth of the connection is too overwhelming for him to comprehend. The anima, when not yet fully integrated, stirs up emotions he's not ready to face. Yet, in many ways, this interaction with the anima is the beginning of his emotional awakening, a process that begins with confusion, but ultimately leads to a richer, more profound experience of love. So, as you witness him navigating his internal journey, try to remember this. While he may not yet fully understand what he's feeling, the love he's experiencing is real, and it's unfolding before your eyes. His struggles are not a reflection of disinterest, but of a man in the process of becoming whole, of reconciling the shadow with the light. And the love he's learning to embrace, though it may seem hidden or buried, will one day emerge as something more genuine and more beautiful than he could have ever imagined. It is through the anima that a man unlocks his deepest capacity to love, to connect emotionally, and to surrender himself fully with depth, authenticity, and vulnerability. The anima, the inner feminine, is the gateway through which he accesses the fullness of his emotional self. This connection allows him to experience love in its purest form, one that is not just a surface-level attraction, but an intimate and transformative force. When a man falls in love, even if he isn't fully aware of it yet, much of his attraction to the woman he connects with may be rooted in a projection. She becomes, symbolically, the reflection of his own inner feminine, the part of him that longs to emerge, to be recognized, to truly live. But if he has not yet integrated this inner feminine, if he has not yet made peace with the vulnerability, emotional depth, and sensitivity that it represents, this projection can stir confusion within him. He feels something powerful, but it is beyond his understanding. It overwhelms him, creating a push-pull dynamic where he approaches, only to retreat again. The woman, by simply existing as she does, mirrors back to him a part of himself that he is not yet ready to embrace. This can trigger a storm of emotions in him, a mixture of intense fascination and fear. And within this fear lies the crux of what Jung called the tension between the conscious self and the unconscious truth. This dynamic is especially important when it comes to understanding a love he feels more deeply than he consciously perceives. He may struggle to explain why he feels so intensely, why he can't seem to stay away, or why something as simple as the way she moves or speaks stirs him so profoundly. At the symbolic level, what is happening is that he is encountering the most sensitive part of his soul, the part of him he has yet to fully recognize or welcome. The woman, in this moment, becomes so much more than just the object of his affection. She becomes a mirror, reflecting something far greater than mere romance. She mirrors his own inner feminine, the tenderness, the depth, the emotional vulnerability that he has been conditioned to suppress. This projection, though it can feel confusing and overwhelming, is not a negative force. It is the very starting point of a powerful individuation process, an emotional and psychological journey that will allow him to recognize, integrate, and eventually love that repressed part of himself. The woman who stirs his soul, who moves him at a deep level, becomes more than just a romantic partner. She is the invitation for him to reclaim his sensitivity, his ability to care, to feel deeply, and to be cared for in return. In this process, unconscious love begins to shift into conscious awareness. However, it's crucial for the woman who embodies this energy not to mistake the projection for a fully mature love. This love is still in its nascent stages, an emotional seed that has yet to sprout fully. Loving someone who is still discovering and understanding his sensitivity requires a unique kind of wisdom. It's not just about recognizing that love is present. It's about understanding that it is still evolving within him, forming, learning how to be expressed with clarity. He's not pretending to love, he's genuinely feeling, but he doesn't yet fully understand what those feelings mean. He's reacting to the depth of the connection between you, yet he lacks the emotional language or tools to articulate or sustain it. Over time, if space and awareness are allowed to blossom, he will gradually move from projection, those confusing, impulsive reactions, to a place of integration. The love he feels will no longer be just an impulsive rush, a desire born from an unconscious need. Instead, it will evolve into a mature, conscious love, one that is present, verbalized, and backed by intentional choices. But this transformation begins deep within himself, in a space he may not fully understand yet, and the woman who awakens him to this process is the mirror, the reflection of his inner feminine. It's as if you've touched something in him that he's been unaware of, something that has always been there, hidden beneath layers of fear and defense. When you notice that he connects with you intensely, yet hesitates to commit, remember this is often because you've touched a part of him that he is still learning to handle, a depth of emotion he is not yet equipped to fully process. And that connection? It is incredibly powerful, transformative, and truly meaningful. What you are experiencing together is a journey of growth, not just in love, but in his self-awareness. And that is the kind of connection that lasts, a love that evolves from unconscious to conscious, from a whispered, hidden truth to a fully realized and deeply felt reality. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. It speaks of a love that transcends logic, a love that, in your very presence, uncovers the most delicate, raw, and truest parts of his soul. This isn't just ordinary affection, it's something far more profound, something that defies reason and understanding. The process of individuation, as Carl Jung described, is a deeply personal inner journey that leads the individual toward wholeness. It is about integrating the unconscious aspects of the psyche into consciousness, acknowledging and accepting every part of oneself, including those parts that have been repressed, denied, or projected onto others. And when it comes to love, especially the kind that feels beyond comprehension, it's often an unconscious force pushing a person toward this transformation. When a man loves in a way that doesn't fit into his rational mind, it's not just a passing emotion, it's a call from his deepest self. This is the soul's invitation to become whole, to heal, to integrate parts of himself that he's not yet aware of. At the beginning of this journey, the man may feel fragmented, as though pieces of him are scattered, and he's struggling to make sense of the emotions stirring within him. He senses that something is drawing him towards someone, a bond that exists beyond logic, something so powerful that it can't be fully understood by his conscious mind. But instead of embracing it, he might fight the impulse, trying to rationalize it away, or even deny it altogether. The more he resists, however, the stronger this love becomes, pushing through in involuntary signs, unexpected longing, spontaneous care, intense emotional reactions that catch him off guard. This is when individuation begins to unfold, revealing itself in ways that can't be ignored. What once seemed like mere desire or confusion transforms into a force for profound personal transformation. In this context, love is not just a feeling directed at another person. It becomes a bridge that connects him to himself, to the parts of him that were once hidden or suppressed. He may start to wonder why this woman affects him so deeply, why it's so difficult to let go, why he feels a strange ache when she's not around. These questions are not just mere musings. They are signs that his unconscious is starting to take the lead. They are the first stirrings of growth, of transformation. And this is where true growth begins, when the unconscious forces begin to shift his reality and shape his journey toward wholeness. Individuation requires an incredible amount of courage. It demands that he face the parts of himself that he's long ignored or suppressed. To admit that he loves deeply, even when that love wasn't planned or expected, is an act of confronting his shadow, the parts of himself that are filled with limiting beliefs, the parts of himself he's been afraid to look at. In doing so, he begins to dismantle the rigid structures of the ego and confront the emotional wounds that have been buried deep within him for years. These wounds may resurface as part of the process, bringing pain and discomfort, but ultimately leading to healing and integration. The emotional vulnerability he feels is not a weakness. It's the very essence of his transformation. This process is not easy. It requires a willingness to be broken open, to face the complexities of the self and the intense contradictions that come with loving deeply. The struggle he faces is not just about the external relationship. It's about him coming to terms with the internal battle, learning to integrate all the pieces of himself that have been fragmented by fear, trauma, and societal expectations. This is the path to self-acceptance, self-love, and a deep, transformative love that will endure, not because of its perfection, but because it comes from a place of total emotional truth. Through individuation, he will not only understand love on a deeper level, but he will come to know himself in ways he never thought possible. And this is the journey of real emotional freedom, the freedom to love not just another person, but himself as well. Memories of abandonment, a deep fear of dependency, and the weight of past relationship traumas, all of these are silent ghosts that linger in the shadows when a man loves at this stage. But love, at this point, is no longer confined to the realms of simple romance. It becomes something more profound, more intricate, and, yes, deeply therapeutic. It's a journey that challenges him, shakes him, and ultimately leads him to a revolutionary understanding of himself and of what it means to truly connect with another person. When he begins to recognize that his feelings for you surpass his ability to control them, that's when something within him shifts. Something profound and transformative happens. At this point, the woman he loves is no longer just a partner in a romantic sense. She becomes a symbol of something far deeper, a symbol of reuniting with parts of himself that he may have lost along the way, of reclaiming his essence, his truth. In the beginning, he may not express himself through grand, sweeping declarations of love. Instead, he opens up in subtler, more conscious ways, through aligned actions, careful choices, and simply by being present in the moment. These actions, though seemingly small, are incredibly significant. But this path of individuation, the journey towards self-discovery and wholeness, is rarely linear. There will be moments of profound growth, but also times of setback and hesitation. He may still try to convince himself that what he feels isn't love, or he may run from it, overwhelmed by the enormity of it all. Yet even in those moments of denial, individuation never stops. The process continues, inching him closer to the truth of who he is Once his soul is touched by love, the unconscious mind works tirelessly beneath the surface, continuing to bring up hidden truths. The closer he gets to understanding himself, the closer he comes to truly recognizing the depth of what he feels. It's vital to understand that during this process, love itself becomes a tool for self-discovery. It's no longer just a fleeting emotion or a momentary rush. It becomes a powerful, guiding force, propelling him forward toward wholeness. The love that begins as unconscious, hidden, and even confusing gradually shifts into something more intentional, more integrated. It evolves into a force that shapes not just his relationship with you, but with himself. When a man enters the stage of individuation, he no longer loves impulsively or reactively. He loves with consciousness. He loves with awareness. Every gesture he makes, every lingering look he gives you, every unexpected attitude or reaction takes on greater meaning. These signs are not just hints of unconscious love. They are evidence of his inner awakening, his emotional growth. The moment he hesitates but doesn't pull away is a crucial milestone in his journey. The moment he watches you in silence as if seeing something deeper than he can say. When he chooses to stay, even when he doesn't know how to act, these are the markers of true transformation. They're milestones on the path of individuation, on the birth of a love that is real, grounded, and authentic love that grows alongside his expanding consciousness. So when you notice that he doesn't yet know he's in love, but everything about him, his actions, his silences, his contradictions, shows that something profound is happening. Understand this. His soul is in motion. His love, though unnamed, is already revealing something incredibly important about who he is and who he is becoming. When a man loves without realizing it, it's not that he's lying to you, nor is he intentionally hiding his feelings. He is simply confronting an inner truth, a truth that he hasn't yet fully learned to articulate or understand. His gestures, his silences, his contradictions, they all speak of a feeling born deep within his unconscious. A feeling that has been passing through the shadows of his past, and now it is beginning to touch the very depths of his soul. As we've explored today, love is a journey that goes far beyond what meets the eye. It's a process of discovery, growth, and transformation, both for the one who loves and the one who is loved. The unconscious plays a crucial role in shaping our emotional experiences, often revealing deep truths before we even understand them ourselves. So, as you reflect on the insights shared, ask yourself, what has resonated with you the most? What new understanding have you gained about love, and how can you apply it in your own life? I'd love to hear from you. Comment below and share one thing you've learned today and how you plan to bring it into practice. Your thoughts could inspire someone else who's on their emotional journey. And if you found value in this video, please leave your comment below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Let's continue this journey of growth and self-discovery together.